Hey, what's happening? Welcome to HTV. So, quick one from me because obviously we've seen it go mad. Mad. Liverpool transfer mad. Saudi money washing into Merseyside. And it looks like it's going to scoop up Jordan Henderson and potentially Fabinho as well, almost out of the blue. And we've been talking for weeks about the potential of this, almost jokingly, like, Chelsea are getting money, getting players off the books. And it's like, when's going to be our time, Lord? When's going to be our time? Now is our time, it would seem. At time of recording, obviously not done, but what I think we're at now is a bit of a crossroads for Liverpool, for Jurgen Klopp, for this summer and actually for the years that might follow it, the final couple of years of potentially Jurgen Klopp as Liverpool manager. The business so far has been very encouraging, I think, to the envy of a lot of football fans of other teams, to football club owners of other teams. But this is a very pivotal season that Liverpool need to bounce back, and they need to bounce back quickly. There are some issues around how Liverpool create a competitive squad again. Man City have not just gone to another level, but they've stayed there. And Liverpool, I've got the big question of, can they get back up to that level? And if so, how long? Because there's a lot of expectation that Liverpool are going to go straight back up there again this season. And I think that's possible, but I'm not certain how likely it is when you look at what they've got. They've now got a squad that's won everything, and it's not an old squad. The refresh, the rebuild that needed to be done looks like it's largely been done for Manchester City now, whereas everyone else is then back to playing catch-up. And you're not just playing catch-up with a team that's sat still. You're playing catch-up with a team that's putting its foot to the floor and going. They're moving Gundogan on, they're bringing Kovacic in. Not the same player, but you're losing experience, but you're gaining experience. That could have been something that undercut what they did. And as mentioned, Kevin De Bruyne might be in his 30s. He's entering into the tail years of his career, but he's still a fantastic footballer. And you've got Erling Haaland, who's just a cheat code for a goal machine. What Liverpool have done so far has been encouraging. But my overriding sense of what the plan was for Liverpool this year was very much a 2015, 2016, following on from that Jurgen Klopp summer. So it's the summer of 2016 to be more accurate. And he goes and he builds the first stages of his team. He brings in Gini Wijnaldum, he brings in Sadio Mane, Alex Banniger. What I mean by this is not necessarily the finished pieces, but he's starting to build volume. He's starting to build the squad that he wants. And I did think that this is what this summer was going to be a bit more like, and why the target changed from let's go all in on Jude Bellingham instead to buying multiple players across the midfield and beyond, because it was much more of a rebuild than a put a cherry on top of it kind of situation that Liverpool found themselves in. And I think they found themselves in that a little bit to their own surprise, given how badly everything fell apart last year. We're not here to digest that again. I've covered that on multiple videos before. But what I think this represents, and there's obviously moral issues in here, which I've made very clear in the past. I might touch on it a bit later on. But let's just look at this from a pure business perspective for the moment. If Liverpool are able to move on Jordan Henderson at 33 years old and Fabinho at 29 for the right amount of money, I think it upsets the plan that Liverpool were trying to make. I think it upsets the plan that was put in place for this summer. But I think what it does is it opens up an opportunity that wasn't there previously to go bigger and to go harder in the transfer market. What Jurgen Klopp is very keen to stress, and I just love this as a life mantra in general, is there's no such thing as sort of, as bad things shouldn't knock you on your arse, as certainly not for long, to horrendously butcher Batman Begins. Why do we fall? Is so that we can learn to pick ourselves back up. Jurgen Klopp likes to turn negatives into positives, turn knocks into opportunities, and losing your skipper on the back of letting your vice captain go seems to me, just on face value, stupid. Seems stupid to me to let so much experience go. And for me, that's based on previous years of watching Liverpool. The Gerard Houlier's team unravels when we let too much experience, too many good lads go from the side, and we bring in too many untried and untested and characters that we didn't know they were going to fit. The success of Klopp's side has been built on brilliant coaching, but actually assembling a squad of sort of right-minded individuals. They've got the right level of focus, the right level of attitude, just the right people, the right fit. And when it gels together, it creates something greater than the sum of its parts. And you can get that wrong because some people are just great in interviews. And then when it comes to the reality of it, it doesn't quite fly, it doesn't quite gel. So that's been the core of one of the cores around which Klopp's squad has been built. So they've doubled down on that, and that's sometimes the problem, is you make changes and you bring lads in on paper and you're going, that's a superstar footballer, he can really add to us, but what if they just haven't got that little 5% when the chips are down, when you're being asked to give above and beyond yourself? Have you got that gear to go to? And often football players are not tested like that until they're actually, at Liverpool, so it's hard to know. But that's my fear over this. But when you look at what it could potentially give to Liverpool, I wonder a little bit, having bought having bought McAllister, I don't think there's necessarily big money left to go and get another 60 odd million pound footballer, which is why Liverpool haven't been, certainly nowhere near Declan Rice at 100 million, and nowhere near Moises Caicedo at around 70 to 80 million, and nowhere near trying to test Real Madrid for Aurelien Tchouameni 1 year on after losing out to him there. What this money of selling Fabinho and Henderson potentially does is says, okay, we're no longer in the market for a Romeo Lavia to come in and complement a Fabinho, to come in and learn the ropes under a Fabinho and start to sort of take his place over a period of time. Actually, we're in the market to go and get someone who's ready now. So we don't need to worry about maybe having those two, one, the old guard, and the new guard to come in and replace. We can just go and get someone at 23, 24 who's bang on it and ready to play 50 games a season, like Trent will do, and like, Szoboszlai will hopefully do, and obviously the likes of Cody Gakpo, etc., prime age footballers. And it opens up a market of, again, with naming those names, footballers who are just at a slightly better, slightly more ready-made level. And this is the level that Manchester City operate at. They can afford to take that extra 10 million, that extra 20 million on footballers, and not wait around as much for the results. That's not how Liverpool have been constructed. We've made those decisions where we've needed to. We've gone and got big name players when we've been able to afford those key cornerstones of the team. That's when they've gone and broken bank. And that's what I feel like Szoboszlai is likely to be for us. But everything else around that has been, okay, let's do the Moneyball approach. Let's let the numbers guide us. Let's let coaching guide us. Hopefully this represents an opportunity for Liverpool to go a little bit deeper and a little bit harder and potentially skip a year of development, because I do think that, the plan was to put a basis, rebuild the midfield, rebuild as much of the squad as possible across the board this summer, and then next summer, that's when you've got that up and running, then you're going to add one or two absolute gems to the mix. And this is why Liverpool need to make sure they do these negotiations correctly. Don't be bullied, don't get it wrong, because this opportunity only comes around in limited times. There aren't loads of assets there that you can afford to get rid of. And I think it is a gamble letting a Henderson and a Fabinho go. It really genuinely is. And I know it's the right time in a football sense, I think, to consider cashing in. Again, 33, 29, both players have had their best seasons already in their career. There was definitely more, and there is definitely more to come from both those players, and I would be more than happy to see them stay as Liverpool players for at least another year. But there is an exciting potential here where that could be turned into something that actually gives Liverpool a kick up the arse, that actually jumpstarts what they're doing more than maybe anticipated. And that's where we've got to put faith in the people behind the scenes at Liverpool. And maybe I'd hope that as much as there will have been some fevered conversations, I suspect, over the last 24 hours. But once that's settled down and the reality is hit, hopefully the people responsible have gone, right, this is a chance. This is an opportunity. What can we do? And it means that Liverpool need to strike hard and they need to strike fast. If the reality is there's no more Henderson and no more Fabinho, then for me, Romeo Lavia as a transfer option, listen, if you've got the money to bring him in as well, great. But Liverpool can't go into the season with our DM options being 18-year-old Stefan Bajcetic, 19-year-old Romeo Lavia, and then 32-year-old Thiago Alcantara. I don't think that washes. That is definitely a weakening. Young players should be allowed space and time to develop. If they're generational talents, that will flourish in good time. But you know what? Go and get an absolute star if you can, and fingers crossed that means that Liverpool can improve, not just in the medium and long term, but in the short term as well. So I'm not overly convinced that it was the right, that either of them is the right time for them to move. I think Fabinho would hurts less, because that's the right thing we should be doing. Like Real Madrid letting Casemiro go when he still clearly had stuff in the tank. it seemed like they were throwing away a useless player at the time, and Casemiro goes and has a really good season. There's more to come for Fabinho. I'd be made up if he did another year with an understudy to give him a bit more rest. I've spoken about this in the last couple of videos. I think there's still good football in Fabinho, but Liverpool have lost that ability to let players grow old on someone else's wages in recent years, partly because it was the decision made to keep squad harmony, and partly because of COVID damaging the market, and other times maybe a bit of excess loyalty from the manager. This is a great opportunity to get back to that. It's a great opportunity to cash in on the gold rush while it exists. Go and get someone to pay above the odds for a footballer, and go and take that money and use that money how you want to spend it. The Henderson one sits more uncomfortably. Obviously, you've got the fact that he's been such an advocate for the LGBTQ community. It feels like an odd fit for him to kind of turn his back on it. I don't know, maybe he's overselling it, I don't know, but he feels like, you know, he's made that stance. I don't think you get to be such a public advocate for that and then go and take that decision. For me, anyway, I think it's almost like some doors get closed to you when you make a moral stand on things, and they should do to some extent. What that'll look like for his career and him as a person, I don't really know, but that does certainly cloud the issue for me a bit. At 33, you know, maybe facing at the time of being a bit of a wane in power, that was the thing that, you know, he's not going to have a gigantic impact on Liverpool on the pitch, but I think Liverpool's squad is worse all round for not having him around anymore. And that's the one issue of concern that remains, is that Thiago is therefore the only really experienced player left in that midfield, and he's not super reliable in terms of his availability. And when you've got a young squad around, we've got more young players in our first team squad certainly, that Manchester City have, and even the likes of Arsenal now. It's all of a sudden quite a young midfield all of a sudden, and you need old lads to guide them through. Look at what Milner was doing in those early rounds of like League Cups and FA Cups. He's one of the reasons why Kurt Jones helps to kick on. That is my remaining concern on that. But look, it'll be what it'll be. The decisions will be made by the players, and the decisions will be made by the clubs, and the best thing to do is see it as an opportunity. And I trust that the people who have their hands on the purse strings, the people who've got the list of names, the list of targets, and ultimately Jurgen Klopp as a manager and a coach, I would trust him to make the most out of the circumstances. All it does is add to what has been the most exciting, interesting, fascinating discussion where the Liverpool transfer window that I can remember in 13 going on now 14 years of covering Liverpool. What do you think? What do you make of the whole situation? I've not been able to cover any of this in anywhere near the nuance in this video, because I say I'm shooting from the hip a little bit, to the point where it's so fly that the camera fell over in my face halfway through the middle. Don't know if you noticed that cut. But yeah, if you want more coverage from this, me, Chris Pajak and Dan Clubb have done a Redmen Reacts over on Redmen Plus, really picking apart more on the moral side of things and more on the football business side of things as well. Neil Jones has done Journo Insight, Paul Gorse from The Echo has talked about, and Dan Clubb's got a bunch of really great interviews lined up. If you want to try Redmen Plus for half price for an entire year, then use the code Bobby, BOBBY. Go to redmenplus.com, choose a Captain yearly subscription, get it for half price with the code Bobby, and fill your boots. There's going to be so much stuff going on around Liverpool transfers, even more so now in the next couple of weeks. Pre-season starting, pre-season games coming back next week as well. We've got your box, so box yourself for a full year. Excellent podcast and video on redmenplus.com. Whew, right. Don't know if I covered any of the points I was hoping to there, but I feel like I've run out of steam, so it's probably a good time to stop the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing to Major TV. Drop a like if you have in fact liked the video, and share it if you've beyond liked it. That would be great. That's it from me. More to come in the coming days and weeks.